Welcome to the University of Puget Sound International FAQ session. Today we're going to be running through some commonly asked questions by international students. We're going to go ahead and start off with introductions. I'm joined by some amazing colleagues assisting me in answering these questions. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Hope Nelson. I am from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, originally. And I am our international admissions counselor here at the University of Puget Sound. And a quick fun fact about me is I actually spent my junior and part of my senior year studying in France for high school. And I think that's really sort of where my love for international education began. So if we want to go through my colleagues, Nova, Christopher, and then Andreas, introducing yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nova Ferguson, and I am the International Student and Scholar Advisor. I also get to work with all of our health profession students on campus. So if any of you are also thinking about things like medical school, dental school, or whatnot, you'll get to hang out with me for multiple reasons. I am originally from Tacoma, so this is my hometown. I was born and raised here. My family is here, so I know it very well. Fun fact, let's see, I lived for about a year in La Paz, Bolivia. I was working as the school counselor and the college counselor at an American international school there. So I speak a little bit of Spanish still, but I have a big heart and love for that part of the world. So it's wonderful to meet you all.
Amazing. Christopher, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself next?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Brigada. I'm a professor in the Department of German Studies here on campus. I'm originally from Cleveland, but I've spent a lot of time living, working, and studying in both Germany and Austria. I teach German language and culture and history courses, and also am one of the 12 member faculty team for a new department on campus in the Environmental Arts and Humanities. And I teach regularly courses on theater, film, and also in the Environmental Humanities. And a fun fact, I play the Chapman stick, and no one has ever heard of this. It's kind of a 12-string touchboard instrument. It kind of looks like a big brown crayon. It's a cross between a guitar and a bass, and you don't strum it, but you tap it. Google it. I can't show you it right now.
And I'm Andreas Madlong. I'm in the biology department. I'm originally from Germany. I was born and raised there. I went to college there. I got my undergraduate degree there. And then during that time, I did a study abroad, fun fact, and my study abroad was in Philadelphia. Of course, that was abroad for me, right? So I went back home. I finished my studies there. I had sort of fallen in love with being abroad and with the way American schools worked. And so I went on to do a PhD in molecular biology in Oregon, at Oregon State University. Then I went to Seattle. I was a postdoc there at the University of Washington for a few years. And then this job became open here at the University of Puget Sound. And I love the Pacific Northwest. I love the mountains. I love the nature here. So I gave it a shot. I got the job. Still here after 23 years.
Amazing. Well, thank you all again for your help in answering some of these questions. Very valuable perspective that we're getting from across campus. I wanted to start off by asking another sort of introductory question, which is, why did you choose the University of Puget Sound, and why have you stayed?
Should we go in the same order again?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So Tacoma's home for me. So I have lived all over the West Coast of the US. So I actually also worked at Oregon State University, which is a fun fact and connection between Andreas and I. So I've lived all over Oregon, Southern California, and South America, but Tacoma's home. And so when my husband and I were trying to figure out where do we want to raise our daughter and just really settle in and establish roots, it was there was really no other option that made sense for us. We love the proximity to water, to mountains. We love that we have 4 seasons. Tacoma is kind of like a big small town. So it's got the nightlife and the kind of downtown feel and urban activities and the arts and the sciences, and but it also has a very community-based feel where people know one another and they're deeply invested in this community. So it's a really nice, for us, balance of all the things that we were looking for. It's got a lot of culture, a lot of history, and it's diverse, which was also really important to us in terms of the environment we wanted our daughter to grow up in. I also, when I was very, very tiny, the daycare I attended was 2 blocks from campus. And so my earliest memories of being 3, 4, and 5 years old was actually being a kid walking around campus. And so it just is a big part of my heart. It's a beautiful campus and it feels very homey. It feels very idyllic and quiet and safe. And so all those things just make it a really special place to spend such a big part of my life, honestly. And so I love coming to campus and love the students, love the community. It's large enough to where there's lots of people and things to do, and yet small enough to where people sincerely get to know one another and maintain relationships.
Thank you. Christopher.
Yeah, that was a really great answer. I would just echo Nova, also with the place. I really like the Pacific Northwest, also for what Andreas was saying, the close proximity to nature. As a faculty member, I knew coming out of graduate school that I wanted to land at a smaller liberal arts college, because close interaction with students is really important to me. So I'm really fortunate to have both of those things, I guess, being in a place that I really like, and also being at a smaller institution where I can teach the sort of courses that I want to teach.
Yeah, and I would echo some of the things that Chris just said. The small campus, the small class sizes, the close interactions that you have with colleagues and students, and colleagues not just within your own department, but across campus. So, for example, Chris has invited me several times to come to German table, and I love going there when it doesn't conflict with my weekly orchestra rehearsals, which I do on the side. I play the violin. And so it's just a nice homey feel at this university. And I agree with Nova. It feels safe, and the whole neighborhood feels safe. And it's just a nice place to be. You don't really want to be, you never really feel like you want to be somewhere else. I mean, sure, to visit and to see other things, but it's always nice to come back home. The other thing that I really like is, I get to teach the classes I like to teach. I'm a molecular biologist. I teach molecular biology, but I also teach the introductory biology class. So I get to meet students when they first come. I get to see them again when they are a little bit more advanced. And then sometimes, depending on which classes I teach which year, I even get to see them just before they graduate. And so that transition is very nice to observe. It's kind of fun to be part of somebody's life for 4 years. And I also get to do research, which I really love. And I have a research lab. We all have research labs in the sciences, in the natural sciences. We have our small research programs. We have students who work in our labs. We can work on the things that we like to do, that we're interested in, that we are passionate about academically. And we can have our cake and eat it too. Really, it's not impossible to do both, and so it's a really nice balance.
Thank you all. I would just have to agree. Location is a big factor on why I'm here. It's a beautiful place to live, a really great intersection of the outdoors and urban life. And then also being at a smaller liberal arts college, you really get that individualized attention. I think from your professors, you get investment. They get to know you, know what you're about, sort of get to know your long-term goals, the ability to participate in research, which we'll touch on a little bit later, I think is really valuable. So just in sum, I think a really wonderful place that I'm very grateful to get to be a part of. My next question is really going to be more directed towards Nova and myself, which is, how would you describe our international community on campus? Nova, if you want to go ahead and start.
The word that comes to my mind is integrated. The international students are truly integrated into the campus community. So they are living with American students. They are sitting on either side of American students in the classroom. They are actively involved with athletics and are on sports teams. They are in student clubs and organizations and student government and music, and they are working on campus. They're doing research. They are really just one of the student body in the community. I've been at other institutions where international students are sort of separate from the American students, and there's almost this delineation, and that's just not the case here. So I think if a student is looking for a place where they can really immerse themselves and integrate into an American college experience and have that residential component also where everyone's living on campus and they're actively involved. You know, the campus is very active in the evenings and weekends. People don't just disappear for the weekends. They're here, they live here. Then this is a place where they can do that. And they can really feel like they kind of get that authentic American college experience, and really feel like they're part of the community and an important part of the community. They're known, but because everyone's known, it's not a place where students can hide and can just sort of tuck in the back of a classroom and not be noticed or not be known. And so if they also want to have those sincere relationships with faculty and with staff and with their fellow students, this is a place where it can happen.
Absolutely. And the only thing I would add is, not only do we have an incredible international community on campus, I think we've already mentioned that in the Tacoma and Seattle area, there are fantastic different international populations. And I think our students definitely profit from that, knowing that they're going to be seen and sort of taken care of on campus, but also off campus. When they go out and get to explore the area, there are absolutely opportunities to really engage with those international communities as well. Thank you. So sort of launching into our next question, these are primarily for Andreas and Christopher. What was transitioning to Puget Sound like? I know you're both coming from different areas, out of state, out of country. So how was that transition like for you? And Christopher, if you don't mind starting.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming from a really large state school when I was on the job market looking for a position. And like I said before, I knew I wanted something different, something definitely smaller, more intimate. So that was probably the most challenging, but also the best part of transitioning from student life into faculty life and what I do. Having that small, close interaction experience is really important. So, and I've been here now for a few years, and I really, really enjoy it, and I think it was the right move for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for me, I had always dreamed of working at a school like this. And coming from Germany, there aren't really colleges in this size that would have been comparable. And I went to a large university for my undergraduate. And when I was in Philadelphia, as an exchange student, I was at a large university. And then I went to a large university for my PhD. And then I postdoced at a large university. So I really didn't have a good idea of what life at a small college was like, except from all those American movies and books. And I just thought that that's how it was. And turns out it is. So it really is actually what I had hoped it to be. It's small and intimate, and it's small classes, and people, faculty talk to each other about teaching. They enjoy teaching. They don't talk to each other about, I have to teach. It's terrible. I would like to, get back to my other things, like I have seen so many times at larger universities where people are really 90% invested in research and 10% in teaching. And I just love the idea that I have faculty, colleagues, and friends who are interested in both the the science in my case and the teaching in the on the other hand. Yeah, so it was definitely different, but it wasn't really too different from what I had expected, even though I had really nothing to base my expectations on.
You both touched a little bit on sort of that intimate connection that you're able to make with students and that classroom learning environment. And I was just wondering if you could expand a little bit on what the classroom setting is like, being in such a small sort of cohort of students. And another question that I commonly get asked by international students is, do students do research? And if you could talk a little bit about how that sort of coincides with the learning environment. Christopher, do you mind starting us off again?
Sure. With the classroom and learning environment, I would say, it depends on teaching style and subject area, I guess. But for me, at least, I would probably describe classroom setting here as sort of like relaxed but rigorous at the same time. And I probably speak for many faculty colleagues in that sense. We mentioned that the class sizes are smaller, so you get a lot of personal interaction, not only with your classmates, but also with your professors, with your faculty members. And I think that's probably the best way I would describe it. Kind of relaxed but rigorous. And for the research, of course, yeah. In my area, I end up doing summer research projects with students in German and in the humanities in general. And there's some really great opportunities on campus for that, and quite a bit of funding too, which is great for students. It's a great opportunity. For example, 2 years ago, I was working with a student who ended up coming with me. I teach a course that deals with German memory discourses, and we use Berlin sort of as the case study. And there's a 5-week summer component where I lead the group. We all go to Berlin and sort of explore the city. And a student came with me. He was interested in German and also creative writing and the environment. And he worked on a project that had to do with creative writing and waterways in Germany. And it turned out to be a really interesting project. And this summer, I'm working with a student on another research project that has to do with German and American business ties and how they sort of think about sustainability in different ways. So lots of opportunity there.
So cool. Andreas.
In the sciences, we have a summer research program where students can apply for funding in the summer. It's currently, I think, about $4,000. There's also housing opportunities on campus for very little. In the last few years, it was $300 for the entire summer or so. And in that setting, all the students who are doing research on campus, and it actually is across campus, not just the sciences. The sciences might be the largest component of students who are staying on campus to do research rather than going somewhere else, maybe. But everybody is in the same housing. Everybody takes part in the same activities like barbecues and things where we get everybody together. But once you are a student doing summer research, you are, let's say in biology, which I'm most familiar with, you are paired up with your advisor, and you have most likely worked with this advisor already the semester before to write a proposal, to come up with an idea of what it is that you want to do. And usually what it is that you will be doing if you're working with a particular advisor is you get plugged into their program. So they have a larger overall research program. In my case, it's light receptors in plants. We're looking at understanding how plants perceive light and how they use that information and the different types of light that they can use to respond in the best way, in the best possible way for the plant. So a student will come maybe in November, December, say, I'm interested in working maybe next summer with you what kind of projects are currently going on. I tell them about the projects. I say somebody's finishing up this needs to be continued. I also have a new project here. I thought about this, and maybe a student has developed something slightly new. I would be interested in furthering that. Are you interested in any of those? And then they might say, sounds good, but I'm also going to talk to somebody else. And so then they actually shop around, they interview us. And then they decide okay, maybe they want to work with me, want to write a proposal with me. So they write this proposal. It's I wouldn't say in a very involved process, but it is involved enough that you really have to think about what it is that you're going to do in the summer. And that's good, because that means in the summer, when it comes time to start doing things, you hit the ground running because you already know what you're going to do. And then you spend 10 weeks in the summer in the lab or in the field, depending on who you're working with, whether they do more field-based research or more lab-based research. And after the summer is over, so the summer is more than 10 weeks, we expect that if they want to do summer research, that they commit to 10 weeks of full-time research. They still have time to do fun things, go home, go hiking, do whatever they want to do in the summer for another, 5 or 6 weeks or so. Or they can stay in the lab for the whole time. And at the end of the summer, everybody comes together for a summer research poster symposium. And that is really a fun event where everybody talks excitedly about what they did. They make a poster, they come together, there's food and drink. People walk around, look at other people's posters. Students stand by their posters for a certain amount of time during these poster sessions, and explain what it is that we're doing. And then research doesn't have to be over, but it can be. For some students, that's what they want to do. They experience it for one summer. And then maybe they want to do something different in the summer, or maybe they want to leave campus the next summer and go someplace and do research there, or have some completely different idea, doing an internship in a company or something. But they can also do research the entire time that they're here. So I've even had some students who approach me in the first week that they are on campus and say, I'm really interested in research. I've read the website. I know what everybody's doing. I talked to some people during orientation maybe, or maybe by email before. Do you have space in your lab? And so then I might say, yes, I have space. You can start working, and you can spend as much time during the semester as you want. It doesn't have to be full time. It can be one afternoon, because that's all you have. And then maybe in the summer it's more. And then maybe in your third semester that you're here, you have 2 afternoons, or maybe you have more time in one, at one point versus another, because you are playing basketball or baseball as well, and there's a certain season for that. So students can really take the amount of time that they want for research. Of course, the more time you invest in something that becomes yours, the more the better you get at it, the more you own it, the more likely it is that you want to write a thesis about it in the end, which you can, but you don't have to. The more likely it becomes that maybe you publish your research at the end, that you go to an international or a national conference and show your research. But there's really anything between very little to as much as you want.
Thank you. And I appreciate you highlighting just how different research can look for different students, whether that's during the summer, whether that's during the school year. I think there's definitely some flexibility when it comes to how much time you want to invest in that, because there are absolutely other things going on campus that you're going to be involved in, student life, athletics, different clubs. But you also mentioned internships and potentially working on campus or off campus. And so I kind of wanted to transition and ask Nova a little bit about, what does working on campus or getting an internship look like for international students?
Yeah, it's very common. It's very doable. So working on campus is something that is permitted as an F1 non-immigrant visa holder. There are some procedural things that students need to go through just to ensure that they're staying in status. And there's some stipulations about how much an international student can work on campus during a week. It's typically no more than 20 hours per week. There's a couple process related things that need to occur before someone can start work. And so those are all things that I will work really closely with an international student on to ensure that they're staying in compliance, that we're not jeopardizing their immigration status. Some international students have already heard about things like social security numbers. And so that's this magical number that you need to actually work and kind of, you can start working without it, but eventually we got to make sure you've got it. And so I will walk you through the process of how do you find that number? Where do you get it? There's some paperwork and documentation that I will provide. There are some academic programs on campus that have a really intentional curricular component, like that require an internship or a practicum or some type of work experience that's integrated with their academic major and their academic interests and program. And if that's the case, a student might also be eligible for CPT, curricular practical training, which is another way in which you can obtain work experience. So what you international students and I would do is have conversation about what are you looking for experientially? Do you need something for your academic program? Do you just want to kind of have work experience? You want to work in the dining hall? You want to be an academic tutor? You want to be working in the residence halls as a resident assistant? There's lots of options. We just want to make sure that you're staying in compliance. And so those are things I would never expect an international student to know how to do in advance. My job is to walk you through the process. And then your job as an international student is to be really clear on what are the immigration policies so that you're staying in status and not jeopardizing your immigration status.
And on that sort of same note of documentation, immigration status, all of that good stuff, can you tell us a little bit about the I-20 process? A common question that I get is, how soon can I get my I-20 and when can I apply for my visa?
Yeah, so it's pretty quick here. So the way that it works is once an international student has officially deposited, meaning they've paid some money to say, yes, I want to hold my spot, I'm coming, I want to make my college home at University of Puget Sound, that notification gets sent to me. And so I then send an email to that incoming international student with instructions about what I need to get the I-20 process started. There's some pretty basic information, some documentation. There's proof of finances is sometimes the part that gets a little bit clunky at times, depending on where the money's coming from, to demonstrate that you have the financial support to carry you through this college journey. So you'll get an email from me usually within 1 week of having paid your deposit. So it's pretty quick. And then in terms of how fast you get that I-20, it really depends on how quickly an international student gets me all the things I need. So if you're really on top of things and you've got everything lined up and you have your proof of finances in a pretty good place to start with, then you could presumably have your I-20 sent within another week or two. And then that allows you to then schedule your appointment at the US consulate, to then get your visa and kind of continue moving forward with all those other procedural elements. So it can be very quick. The reasons why it gets delayed is if an incoming student just isn't checking their email, isn't communicating with me. Maybe there's something that they're not sure how to process, but they're not telling me that they need help with it. So just being really communicative and asking for help when you need it. Some US consulates are very backlogged. So sometimes it can take months to secure an appointment for a visa. And so it really depends on also the country you're coming from and where you have citizenship. So some consulates are really quick and speedy and it's sort of an effortless process, and others, there are delays that occur. Sometimes we can anticipate those delays and we know about them in advance, and other times we can't. So the important thing is check your email, ask questions, stay in communication with myself and with Hope. If there's reasons why you're getting delayed, or there are hangups, or there are just challenges that are unexpected you're encountering, that's okay. And we've probably encountered them before. We might have some really helpful guidance, or we might have to get more creative about what does this mean for an anticipated start date, or do we need to maybe consider a later start date to come to campus just to allow you more time to get that visa. But time is of the essence because there's so many pieces of this, and a lot of it's beyond your control. Unfortunately, you're sort of at the mercy of these government organizations. And so don't delay, and just be very communicative throughout the process.
And Nova, for students that already have an F1 visa, do they have to apply for a new visa in order to come to Puget Sound?
That depends. It depends on what kind of visa a student already had. It also depends on how close the visa is to expiration. There's a lot of details that go into it. So no two cases are always identical. And so if you are transferring, for example, from another US university into Puget Sound, or you already have a visa, that would be something I would need to know up front, because then I can talk through generally the alternate process that you might be having to navigate. It might expedite things. It might make your process and your journey a lot quicker and more efficient, or there might be some additional pieces that we need to navigate. So it really depends is the hard answer.
Thank you for all that information. It's a really nuanced process, and I think the key takeaways are just ask for help when needed. Make sure that you're communicating with both Nova and myself. We are here to help you and to guide you through the process. So please do not be afraid to rely on us when navigating some of these different systems. And so once students actually have secured their visa and are on campus, I wanted to talk a little bit about what living on campus is like, what support systems we have. I often get asked, what's housing like? Can students stay on campus during breaks? And so just know that we are a residential campus with a 2-year living requirement. So that means that we require students to live on campus for their first 2 years. However, housing is guaranteed all 4 years should students want to stay on campus. And so I think that's common for international students. Students are also able to remain on campus during breaks. However, it is important to note that a lot of campus is going to potentially close. So it's going to be quieter and there may be some limited meal options or offerings. But working with Residence Life, you can absolutely stay on campus during breaks. We've also mentioned that many students stay on campus over the summer doing research and things of the like. One other program I think that I love to talk about when meeting with international students is our language partner program. So this is very new, but basically this program pairs students with writing advisors for the course of a semester. So students are typically going to meet with this assigned writing advisor typically once, maybe twice a week, and they're going to help you with anything that you may need sort of when it comes to writing. So analyzing challenging reading assignments, brainstorming ideas for upcoming papers, thinking about big picture issues like arguments, organization, but also just sentence level issues like grammar and punctuation. So really anything that encompasses that writing and reading component of your coursework. The language partner program is entirely voluntary, so know that it is not a requirement. It is just meant to be a support system for our multilingual students on campus. I also want to talk a little bit about incoming students and scholarship opportunities. I often get asked about additional scholarship opportunities at this point in the cycle. And unfortunately, while there are no other scholarships available at this time for international students, and we're talking, in April right now, so getting close to that May 1st decision date, I did want to let you know that we do have an appeals process. So this is where international students included, can appeal for additional financial aid. Now, this additional award is a maximum of $3,000, typically between $1,000 and $3,000, and it is not guaranteed. But if you feel like that $1,000 to $3,000 would make a difference in your financial ability to be able to attend Puget Sound, please let me know and we can get that process started. All you have to do is send me an email. My email is henelson, Nelson, @pugetsound.edu. And just let me know if you're interested in learning more about that process or getting that process started. And then finally, I wanted to talk a little bit more about depositing and making your final sort of admission decision. So to confirm your undergraduate enrollment, first, you have to submit your $500 non-refundable advanced tuition payment. So this is actually going towards your tuition. It's not just a payment that goes straight to us and goes away. In order to confirm your enrollment, you're going to have to log into your admissions portal using your username and password. if for whatever reason you're unable to get into your portal, just again, shoot me an email and I'm happy to help navigate potentially resetting passwords, getting you your username, all of that good stuff. But once you're in your portal, you're going to have to click on reply to your admission offer, accept your offer of admission, and then you're going to have to select submit your advanced tuition payment and click on deposits in the gray bar. You should then be prompted to choose your method of payment, which can be credit card or an electronic check. And then once you submit your payment, you're going to get access to your housing information, your advising questionnaire, and orientation information. So that's really when you get to start the sort of the fun process of figuring out what exactly your life is going to look like at Puget Sound. So that's a little bit of information about depositing. Again, if you run into any challenges, please just let us know. One of the benefits of the small liberal arts is getting to know your classmates, getting to know your professors, but also, your international advisor and your admissions counselor. We are here to help guide you through this process. And so kind of coming to the conclusion of this brief international student frequently asked questions session, I wanted to finish by asking all of my amazing colleagues here, what advice would you give to students that are making their college decision right now? It can be a challenging and oftentimes daunting choice. And so is there any words of wisdom that you might be able to provide? And we'll go Nova, Christopher, Andreas, if that works.
I've worked at large schools, small, private, public, and I think the thing that I always tell students as they're considering where do they want to make their college home is, what type of learner are you? What type of college experience are you looking for? And what place feels like it can be home? This is a place where presumably you're going to spend years. And it will really be, in a lot of ways, a springboard for whatever comes next. And I always hope that wherever a student lands for college feels like a place where they can thrive, where they'll be supported, where they can imagine themselves walking across campus. Sometimes it's a pragmatic decision. It's a practical consideration. The money has to work out, or there's a geographic location that makes more sense. But sometimes it's more of a heart-gut reaction too, of I can imagine myself being there and being supported. And I think that's a really important thing, because any transition into college, regardless of where you are, is hard. It's a big shift and a big adjustment. It doesn't matter if it's a domestic student who's from Tacoma that is now coming to Puget Sound, or you're coming from across the ocean. It's a big change. And so I think the important thing is, can you imagine yourself being supported? I think it's something we really pride ourselves on. We know our students, we care deeply. I think sometimes our students are surprised about how much we care, that their staff and their faculty really, really are invested sincerely, that we celebrate their wins and we're sad when things are hard. And so I think it's just really figuring out, what do you need in a college experience and what would you regret not having? And if this feels like a place that is a good match for you and your academic interests and allows you to have that college experience that you've been seeking, we would love to have you here.
Thank you. Christopher.
Yeah, I would agree with Nova. I mean, just thinking about sort of putting myself in an international student's shoes, it could seem very daunting, going all the way to a different country to attend college. But, I sort of deal with the opposite end of this with my students here who are hoping to go abroad to study for maybe a semester or a full year. It sounds cliche, but it turns out to be probably the best decision of their life. And you learn not only something about the culture and the place that you are going to, but you learn a lot about yourself as well. And I think that's really, really important. It's something you probably can't get if you're just sort of around the corner from where you grew up. So I think that's a really important factor for especially for international students. Also, like Nova was saying, I think feeling is really important, and also take a chance, take a shot at going abroad for college. I think it will be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with all of what Nova and Chris said. My experience was both as an exchange student, a foreign exchange student coming to Philadelphia, of course, since I was foreign, and then coming here for an extended period of time when I went to graduate school, where I came with my one suitcase and thought, I'm going to be here for at least 4 years, maybe 5, and then, as it turns out, forever. But the gut feeling when you first get on campus, it can be daunting. You don't know anyone, you don't really know how things work, you don't really know if you can rely on the offices to help you. And I think the most important thing is your gut feeling when you make a decision. So if you decide, are you going to go abroad? Are you going to go to this place or that place? What is it that feels like you are going to be supported, where you're going to have a good time? And I have dealt with international student offices as an international student myself in large universities, and it's always worked out for me. I've done the gone through all these visas. I've gone through all the various hoops that you have to jump through, and I have seen that here on campus, when I'm on the other side, and I have students who are either coming from abroad, or I've had a postdoc who worked in my lab for a few years, who also had to work with the international student office. The fact that we are a small school and that we know each other personally, and that there is really only 1 or 2 people in the office, and that we can just pick up the phone and say, hey, Nova, can I pop over into your office? There is something I need to discuss with you, or call Hope. I'm always really, I'm still surprised, but I'm maybe shouldn't be as surprised anymore, that the amount of red tape that there is here, and red tape means a lot of paperwork, is just so much less than at a large institution. And it's true for everything, not just for international students, but for most things. If you need something done, it can be done unconventionally. It doesn't have to just, go through the motions. And since everybody really does care, it seems like problems can get solved. And so I would suggest to you, as a student who is making a decision, what are you going to do? Yes, try studying abroad, whether it's for a year or whether it's for your whole time that you're going to be a student. It will change your life. It will change your trajectory. It will open your mind. You will see new things that you have never even dreamt of were possible. But also see where can you see yourself be in the next few years, and where do you think you will be supported? And as all 3 of you said, we're welcoming you. We're happy to have you. If you choose to come here, we'd like to help you. We'd like to celebrate with you, and we'd like to make sure that things work out for you.
Thank you. And thank you so much to all of you for your contributions. Your insight, your perspective is so valuable. And for any students that are listening to this, know that these are people that are accessible to you. So if you want to get in contact with, the biology department to learn a little bit more about what your life would look like there, if you want to talk to Nova a little bit more about what additional support we offer for international students, or what that would be like, know that you have access to these different parts of campus. I know the college decision is difficult, and we want to make sure that you have all of the information that you need in order to make an informed decision. And, for me, my piece of advice is, think about what environment really suits you best, right? I was a student that asked a lot of questions. I wanted my professors to know my name. I wanted to be able to participate in experiential learning, research, and internships at an undergraduate level. And so those were important to me. And that's why I chose sort of a smaller liberal arts school. And that's why I chose to work at Puget Sound, because of those things that I think we really offer. So think about, again, the things that you're looking to get out of your experience, where you think you can really thrive, because we want you to be successful. regardless of whether or not that's at Puget Sound or somewhere else, we want you to be successful and to have a great college experience. So thank you all for being a part of our International Student Frequently Asked Questions session. And if any students have any further questions after this, please feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, I'll say farewell and thank you all for listening in.